Hey there! Welcome to the Cognitive Development Learning Center, a specialized learning intervention center for children with learning challenges. In this video, how is learning intervention different from tuition?
As parents, we all have that same goal, right? We just want to see our kids do well in school. But what happens when you feel like you're doing everything you can? Extra help, those long nights at the kitchen table, maybe you've even hired a private tutor, and they're still struggling. It's just so frustrating. So today we're going to dig into why that might be happening by looking at two totally different kinds of support: tuition and learning intervention. And this question, man, it can be a tough one to ask yourself. You're putting in the time, you're putting in the money, and it feels like you're just hitting a wall. Well, the truth is, a lot of the time, the problem isn't the subject itself. It's not about the math or the science. It's often something deeper, a little crack in the very foundation of how your child is learning. So does any of this sound familiar? Your child is putting in the effort, they really are, but they just can't seem to make it stick. They study for a test and then poof, it's gone the next day. Or maybe it just takes them so much longer to get a concept than their classmates. And that feeling of being overwhelmed, that school anxiety, that's a huge red flag. This isn't about being lazy. It's a sign that the basic tools for learning might need a tune-up. Okay, so to figure out the right fix, we have to make a big shift in our thinking. We need to stop focusing so much on the what they're learning and start looking at the how. Think about it like this. You can keep pouring gas into a car. That's the what, the information. But if the engine itself isn't running right, that's the how, you're just not going to get anywhere. And this right here, this slide really nails the difference. See, tuition focuses on the what. It's about getting through the school's syllabus. A tutor will drill the multiplication tables or go over the history chapter again, but a learning intervention specialist focuses on the how. They ask why your child can't remember those multiplication tables in the first place. Is it an issue with their memory? Is it an attention thing? That's the game changer right there. So with these two different approaches, how do you even begin to know which one is the right tool for your child? Well, let's break it down a little further. The first thing to ask is, what's the end goal? Tuition is really about the short term. Its main job is to get those grades up and pass the next test. And that's fine, but learning intervention has a much bigger goal. It's about building a confident, independent learner who can tackle challenges on their own long after the intervention is over. It's about preparing them for the long haul. And think about the scope. Tuition is usually laser-focused on one subject, right? A math tutor for math problems, an English tutor for essays. But the skills that learning intervention builds, like better focus or a stronger memory, don't just help in one class. They help in every class. When you strengthen the underlying skill, you see improvement across the board, from math to music. Here's another way to look at it. Tuition is reactive. It's like putting a bandage on a scrape. It helps cover the problem that's right in front of you, that chapter they're failing right now. Learning intervention is proactive. It's about figuring out why they keep scraping their knee in the first place. It builds up the core skills to help prevent those struggles from happening again and again. I love this quote because it just says it all so perfectly. Tuition asks what? What's the problem topic? Learning intervention asks why. Why is this topic a problem? It shifts the focus from the symptom, bad at fractions, to the actual root cause, like, say, a weak working memory. And once you know the real why, that's when you can finally unlock their true potential. So we keep talking about these foundational skills, these building blocks, but what are they really? Let's pop the hood and take a look at the actual cognitive engines that power a strong learner. Okay, this might seem like a heavy list, but let's just pick a couple. Think about attention. If a child can't focus on what the teacher is saying, it doesn't matter how great the lesson is, right? It just goes in one ear and out the other. Or look at working memory. That's like the brain's little sticky note. If that sticky note is too small, a simple 3-step math problem can feel totally impossible. Intervention is about strengthening these core areas, which lifts up everything else. All right, so you've got all this information. Now comes the big question. How do you actually decide what's right for your child? Let's walk through it. But first, let's get one thing really clear because it's super important. Learning intervention is not therapy. Therapy is clinical. It's for treating medical or significant developmental conditions. Learning intervention is purely educational. The entire focus is on building the specific skills a child needs to succeed academically in the classroom. This little guide is a great starting point. So look, if your child just missed a few weeks of school because they were sick and needs to catch up, yeah, tuition is probably the perfect tool. But if you see a pattern, if they consistently struggle to remember things or to process what they're taught, that's when you should start thinking about learning intervention. And of course, for significant developmental concerns, therapy is the right path. It's all about picking the right tool for the job. And the source for this explainer, the Cognitive Development Learning Center, makes their own position crystal clear. They state that they are not a tuition provider. Their whole mission, their entire focus is on that bigger picture, building independent learners by going deep and strengthening those fundamental cognitive skills. So, in the end, that's the question we all have to ask ourselves, isn't it? Are we just trying to prepare our kids for the next test? Or are we trying to prepare them for a whole lifetime of learning? Finding the why behind the struggle can absolutely change everything. It's about investing in their future, and that is always, always worth it.
Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. For further questions and inquiries, you may contact us at 65646533 or 8614-7651, or visit www.cognitive.com.sg.